Welcome back, everybody, to another episode or show. It's a show. It's not really a podcast, is it? It's a LinkedIn live show of Recruitment Uncensored. I was getting confused because I filmed Cozy with Sai yesterday, so I've got like podcast show in my head. Um, but yeah, I'm back. So today I've got an amazing guest who actually only lives about 10 minutes down the road from me.
So a stone's throw away.
A stone's throw away, but we're just doing it remotely
Yeah.
anyway. I know she doesn't sound Welsh. That's because she isn't Welsh, but she lives in Wales. She lives just down the road from me. So I've got Emily Thomas of Thrive Recruitment Marketing with me today. So hi, Emily. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, so happy to be here.
We booked this in what feels like ages ago.
Ages.
Well, I booked the guests in early, but I've been like, when is this show coming out? I mean, you even reminded me about it recently. I was like, when is it? It feels like ages away.
It really did, though. We booked, it must have been January, maybe earlier than that.
I reckon it was before we did the Rap Connect event. So I'm thinking it was January that we booked in the state. Long time ago, but we're here. Finally, we are here. So we are going to be talking about today what recruitment gets wrong and right about branding. Now, we've already having a bit of chit chat in the green room before, so I know we've got some really juicy stuff to cover. But for anyone watching, as normal, please get involved. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments, maybe you agree or disagree with something me or Emily have said, get it in there. It's Recruitment Uncensored. Chuck it in the comments. We'll answer as many things as we can. Anything we run out of time for, we'll do it after anyway. But I'm going to get started because half an hour goes very, very quickly. And I know we both like to chat. So we'll get started. I've got sort of my own ideas on this, but I know you spend a lot of time going into lots of different agencies, not even just in the UK. So what do you see most recruitment businesses misunderstand about brand?
So typically when we talk to agencies, we'll say, okay, what makes you different? Where do you stand out? Because that's kind of a nice little gateway into talking about their brand and showing them that impact. And I would say 99% of the time we are told, well, it's our people. That's what makes us different. That's what makes us so unique. Immediately the biggest problem with that is people leave. Then what? Right? So people have had this really amazing experience with your business development team or the consultants that are running the account, and then they go. So this is why brand, it's so much more than just, it's our people. We want to really think about what value we're offering from a grander brand standpoint. So we need that to be strategic as well, so that it aligns with what they're looking for, but also what we can deliver. And I'm sure I know we're chatting about this, but I am sure that with some of the teams that you're working with, where they might struggle with, do they know what their brand does? Do they know what their statement is? Do they know what they're going in and actually selling, or are they just trying to get this account because they need to reach their target? But if they're, when they ask their teams, okay, what value do we offer? And how many of them actually answer that question accurately and saying, this is how we work? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think, and I'm talking from workshops I've literally done yesterday and last week. When you ask a lot of consultants, like, all right, what are the products, what are the services that we offer clients? You can do the same for candidates, but I do a lot of client work with people. Other than finding great candidates, which doesn't set us apart because everybody says that, it's like the people thing that you said. They struggle to really think of what else we do. And there's loads of stuff that we do that we don't productize and we don't create as a service. And we don't, I was talking to a couple of consultants yesterday about, what the value proposition is around some of the stuff that they do. And they don't know what that means.
Yeah, that's scary. That is scary. Because you want to think about, even if you looked at, tech, the recruitment tech is changing all the time. It's becoming more streamlined. People are changing, even the way the CRMs behave and how they can save consultants time and all of this stuff. So that alone, if you talk about leverage your tech, leverage the metrics that you have and how quickly you're able to put placements in, and that then starts to become part of your brand, right? That we're streamlining those processes, taking away this pain and what keeps our clients up at night. We're doing that by investing in tech that's going to support in this so we can deliver a better, faster service that's more accurate.
And when you were saying then about when people say it's their people leave, I suppose almost as well the difficulty that can cause is if you have based your brand so much on the people, particularly maybe there's some people that have been there a long time. If you then decide you don't want them in the business anymore for whatever reason, or they do leave, it must feel really fucking scary because you're like, shit, we've built a whole brand on maybe this one person or these two people. And maybe you don't want them anymore for whatever reason, or they've done something wrong, or they choose to leave. It must leave people in quite a panic.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's their identity.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden that's what's keeping the recruitment leaders up at night, is because they're thinking,
can't lose this person.
Yeah, can't lose this person because they're the ones that are winning the clients. They have the best relationships, whatever. And I know that you do this with your coaching too, but like spreading out that expertise level across the team, empowering everybody to feel like they're on the same page. I know we'll talk about it a bit later, but this sharp framework that we've developed, one of the things that we're talking about is like prioritizing that internal alignment so that the interactions they have with the business development teams or the sales team or the consultants is the same that they're getting from, if they're engaging with the marketer that's there or potentially account executive who's chasing them on those invoices, that aligning that the way that the brand is perceived and how they're communicating, that's what's going to make it feel like, oh, you're a brand. It's not just I'm buying into you as an individual, salesperson for X agency. I'm feeling like I'm engaging with a brand, it becomes bigger than that.
And that is strategic recruitment.
Yeah.
Not transactional or tactical. That is when you sell you as a person. I will fill this job for you. Strategic, which is a lot what most or a lot more agencies should be doing now, is exactly what you're talking about, where the consultants or all levels of the business people are selling that service. Obviously, the people within that help deliver that service, although it's not what you call it, but that brand is more well recognized for those services they provide and the experience and the partnerships.
Yeah.
So I can see why it's so misunderstood. I didn't think of it that way before, actually, about how if you match the brand to the people and only the people, when they leave, what the fuck are you going to do?
Yeah. Or they decide they want to move into a different position. And then now all of a sudden you have this hole in the business that you're trying to fill and kind of backfill because we haven't spread that out across the brand, empowering everybody inside and feel like, this is who we are. This is the value that we offer our clients and our candidates. And this is how we deliver that. I used to always, because obviously I was an in-house marketer previously, and I loved going on the sales calls. I wanted to be in the client meetings, listening to what they were saying, because I'm going to have a different ear to what the client is saying versus what the business development team is thinking. I need to get this sale. So what can I make sure that happens? But if I always said, if your marketer can't advocate and explain what your business does just as well as your sales team can, then you have the wrong person. You're not engaging them enough into what's actually happening, because this is where marketing becomes strategic, right? You align with the business goals. You include the team members, and that's not just marketing. That's everybody involved, because they all play their part, and you're empowering them. As now we have an accounts team who all know what we do really well. Somebody asks, what do you do? This is how we add value. This is how we're going to take the agency to the next level. This is how we're going to deliver a really amazing service. So you have power within that, and also leveraging everybody's expertise too.
Well, that leads us very nicely on to my next question. That segued perfectly. How recruitment marketers and leaders can work more effectively together. And just to clarify with this one, and I'm sure you'll sort of make it clear the differences. We're not just talking about, because you might be sitting here thinking, well, I don't have a person in marketing in my agency, but are you engaging with somebody external? Because this counts within that as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that we do, and it feels it's the right way to go about it. It's the way that you're going to be strategic. Is when we start an engagement with a client, we're not just saying, okay, what kind of content do you want us to post? Because that's another thing that people assume is brands, or they think marketing is just posting on social media. It's just getting stuff out on LinkedIn. But we want to know, how many perm placements did you do last year? Where is your goal? If you could carve up your pie into where that focus would be from client, candidate, and internal growing the business. We want to work alongside that, because the marketing programs that we put in place, that marketing plan should align with what the business goals are. If we want to grow the headcount by 25%, okay, how are we leveraging LinkedIn, for example, of how are we going to grow that team? How are we getting our brand awareness out there, so that when we do need to start making some transactions or get some conversions from that with people making applications, they already are really aware of our brand and how we can, why they would want to join the team. But all of that should be really aligned. I think what you find sometimes, and it's potentially, if you're working with an outsourced marketing team, if they're not asking these questions and trying to really understand your business and what makes you tick, that they feel really disengaged. And then all of a sudden, well, there's no ROI. I wanted a social campaign because
the messaging is lost.
Exactly. And you don't, that's where having those conversations from the beginning. But even if it's that would be my advice to in-house marketers right now in a recruitment business. Do what you can to ask those strategic questions, so that the business leaders see you as an asset into wanting to engage in the business and how you're going to support that. And then you build your marketing plan off of that, rather than the reverse, right? Rather than we build a plan and then, now we need to pivot because we need to start doing this. You're strategic in how you're going to align that.
I really like what you said earlier. It might have been with the last question about how, when you were in-house, you would sit in on the client meetings, like the BD meetings. And I don't know if I've seen that. If you do this already in your agency, drop a comment in. But I personally don't think I've seen it in any of the agencies I've gone into that have an in-house marketer. I think it's such a good idea, because, all right, that person might not necessarily be sitting there engaging fully with the client. It might be more of a listening, and you would explain to the client why that person's there, obviously. Just think it's so useful, because they start to understand the nuances and the conversations and the pain points and the needs and all of that stuff. So then there's less of sort of not Chinese whispers, but having to pass on messages all the time. You can just be like, right, you were in that meeting, what can we do with this, or what sort of content or whatever can we do? But also, and I know this because I work, obviously my client base is the same as yours, right? So we work with similar types of people. They'll think of an idea, which is a great idea, and it's like, right, let's do it. And I do it myself, right? I'm naturally that sort of personality, but actually communicating effectively with your marketer can help you put a strategy and a plan about how you get the message out there, and like you were saying, the brand. So it's really important, isn't it, to have that effective collaboration?
It is, definitely. And it also expands your team. So again, you're showcasing the brand, us as X agency, you're not just engaging with the salesperson or the business development team. Now the marketer is here, and we're going to help protect your employer brand. Because you're doing that already, but it kind of, now all of a sudden the clients really saw that as value. Oh my gosh, your marketer is here, and they're going to be the ones that are helping with the job ads and making sure that it aligns with what we're trying to achieve as a business that you're helping us bring into, because ultimately
it looks great. It looks professional. Yeah, because I think, again, you have your client meetings, and if you're managing that client, you might do it on your own, or if you're more of a rookie, somebody might support you. But do you who else can you bring into that meeting?
Really
that is going to showcase the team. I think some of the temp agencies are good, so they're quite good. So they might have the person that's speaking to the client go, and maybe the resourcer might go along, or the person that comes in and does the inductions with any of the temp staff. But it's not widespread. I think this is something that makes you look like a real team, like a real network within a business, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And even it's just, occurred to me. You know, maybe you can't bring a marketer with you, but if you understand what you want to achieve, what you want your marketing to achieve, and you train and support your staff who are going in and then talking to clients to ask the right questions. Because like what you're saying is right, the business development team may go in and have a conversation with the client. Maybe they don't get the result that they want and they get hung up on that. Like, well, I didn't get them, they didn't sign today. And that may overshadow some of those like golden nuggets that client had mentioned, that then all of a sudden a marketer might think, ooh, I'm going to introduce this into our marketing automation campaign so that clients start to see this. I'm going to note this as it's a client pain point. How are we going to show the leverage that we're solving this problem?
Yeah. Yeah. And that is true. Like a lot of people, they'll be so focused on, I need to try and pick up a job or win this person as a client. They don't look at the other successes that they've had. Because the reality is you aren't likely going to win a client in that first call or first meeting. You know, but it's about those little baby steps and the little nuggets, the golden nuggets, like you say, that you pick up along the way. And like you mentioned earlier, a marketer is listening with a different ear.
Yes.
So if you've got those two people, or I think even if you've got somebody that can't attend a live meeting, or you know, you've happened to have made a great phone call, if you record these things, share it with the marketer, and they can watch it or listen to it back. You know, a lot of agencies have got like cloud calling stuff now, you know, Teams and stuff. We can record everything. Obviously, I think with Teams and Zoom, you'd have to get permission. But if you explain, I'm going to be sharing it, we just share it with our marketing team and they're happy with that. It doesn't have to be a live person physically in the room, does it?
Yeah, for internal training purposes. I mean, people are kind of used to that frame of mind that we're wanting to develop our team. Also, it makes us, I think how you position that's important too. You know, you say to the client, look, we hope to work with you in the future. And we think that if we can get this right from the onset, then we're not having to work so hard to try to catch up. You know, we understand your business, we know what you're trying to achieve and how we're going to support you with that. And then you come prepared the next meeting. You're like, right, this is how we're going to do this. This is our plan of action. This is how we're going to start running some job ads. This is how we're going to align that with making sure that we're reaching those targets that you're trying to achieve as a business. And then all of a sudden you're a strategic business partner going in rather than like, oh, you're just a recruitment consultant.
And do you know what? That's just made me think. Like I said, we've been speaking with some agencies around, you know, training them around like what are the products we offer, services. If you have an in-house marketer, I honestly don't think we talk about that enough to clients, because we see them as, oh, they do the marketing for us, but they don't. So if they're outsourcing their recruitment to us, they're also then outsourcing their marketing and that function. Even if you use an external marketer, technically you can still say that. That is a great service to shout about that you provide. As well as, because what companies would assume that not only do we do the recruitment, which again, they still don't know the breadth of what we do within that umbrella or underneath that umbrella, but also the marketing as well.
Yeah.
Like that would be a big selling point.
It's that employer value.
Speaking that now for my training.
No, there you go. There you go. It's that employer value proposition instead of, you know, the VP, the value proposition, and the employer value proposition. They do sometimes get a little bit misunderstood or they're used interchangeably, but the value proposition is what you are doing to like solve your clients' problems. The employer value proposition is why should you come work with me? Right. So that's how a recruitment agency's marketing department could support with that and say, look, we understand X client because we know that they're trying to achieve whatever. And this is how they need to be positioned, regardless of the roles you're supporting.
Yeah, no, that's definitely given me some little ideas now for my future workshops. So thank you for that. Okay, I know the Sharp framework because I saw you talk about this at the Reconnect event in Cardiff in February. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of people watching that don't know what that is, but also how it helps agencies build stronger brands. So tell us a little bit more about this.
Okay, so we've already covered kind of a few of them. So the S stands for strategic value proposition. Again, that is what value do you actually offer? You know, think about the client pain points, what keeps them up at night. H is harmonizing that message across every brand touch point. So that's from a digital standpoint. So how are you communicating your brand on LinkedIn? How are you communicating your brand when you're replying to an email? Are you short and snappy, and are people feeling like you had all this personality on LinkedIn, but then when I'm engaging with you, they might feel cold. So, harmonizing that message no matter where they're engaging with you. A is probably my favorite one, which is audit your brand presence, because do you actually know what people think of you? You might think your agency is the best agency out there and we're always delivering 100%. But what we do when we work with clients and do a brand project is we're actually surveying the clients, the candidates, the internal teams to find out, how do you view us as a brand?
And that's always so interesting.
It's so interesting. And it's hard to think about, right? Because people are it's their brand. And I totally appreciate that. That's everything that I do is focus on that brand and protect it as much as possible. But one of the ways that we get them to talk about this is to say, if you could compare your recruitment brand as a car brand, who would it be? And we ask the clients, the candidates, consultants, and their senior management team. And when we've done this in the past, it is wild to see the difference in levels of where people see. You'll have consultants who think they're Porsche, Bugatti. They're walking and thinking they're just absolutely hot
swag
stuff.
Yeah.
And then you look at what the senior management team, and typically they're a little bit more reserved, right? And these are actual lineup. We had somebody say they were Ferrari, and then the senior management team, a Volvo. Not a bad option, right? Like safe and reliable. Yeah. But then you had the candidates saying Ford.
Oh, that would hurt me. That would really upset me.
Yeah. Oh, no, sorry. Clients said that there was a Ford, and then the candidates were a BMW. So, I mean,
I'd be all right with that. I'd be okay with BMW. But no offense to Ford, but yeah. I would be really upset about that.
I mean, devs. And then we show all of this live with the senior management team as we go through their the brands workshop, and the looks on their faces when they realize, oh, there's
love being in the room watching that happen.
There is an obvious miscommunication, and that's happening within the brand, that we're not delivering what we are saying that we're doing. And that's why it's so important to just audit that throughout. Make sure, 6 months in, we've tried a new thing. Is it working? Are people actually feeling?
Also, people join the business, don't they?
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that that's still being reflected.
100%.
Because that could change, couldn't it? Those surveys could change based on maybe you have new people join.
Or you launch a new website, or you launch a new CRM, you launch a new
offices, or
all of these.
I suppose. How often would you say this needs to be done then, really, for it to be effective?
I think you could do it. I would say at least once a year for clients and candidates. You'd want a long enough engagement so that they actually they're not just focused on the one time that maybe you didn't deliver or you had a bad interaction, but that they're thinking about it from an entire engagement standpoint. But I think from an internal point of view, there is nothing stopping that happening once a quarter. Are we on track? Maybe you launch a new business goal, and you want to make sure are you getting the support that you need? Are we on the right track consistently? And that might even stop some things getting totally off course halfway down the year, when it might be not too late to change, but people are kind of in the motion now. They might find it more difficult to pivot and readjust how they're going to achieve those goals.
So doing that, and so that's the A, isn't it? What's the R and the P?
R is refresh regularly. So you need to start over. Maybe the audit tells you need to refresh. You're not stuck with this tagline that you created, 8, 10
Maybe you came out as a Skoda.
Yeah. Does your value proposition actually give value? It might have 10 years ago, but the tech's changed. The market has changed. Clients want to be engaged differently. Candidates want to be engaged differently. So your value proposition might not actually be adding value anymore. And that last one is obviously prioritize that internal alignment. Do your whole staff know what you do? Do they know what value you're offering? And that it's not just Oh yeah,
So don't assume they know, because believe me, especially when you bring newbies in, sometimes they're like, hey, I don't really know what we do here. They
and
need to
that's
know.
they need to know. They need to know.
Did you give the P then? Was that
Yeah,
the P at the end?
prioritize that internal alignment.
Yeah. Okay. So just quickly, because we've got about a minute, I'm going to do just quickly introduce the next guest, and I've still got a top tip from you as well. So agencies that do that, if they implement that framework, how do you see it helping them build that stronger brand overall? Like, what's the big impact from that?
You're not going to get if you are a proactive in trying to achieve, you're thinking about this framework. You're not going to get hung up on the fact of like, we just need to post on LinkedIn. We just need brand awareness.
Yeah.
It's building a stronger brand, because now your marketing is more than just, oh, look at us and we're nice and shiny. Now we have metrics that support it. We've got tech that support this. We're a full brand, and everybody that wherever you engage with us, they're getting the exact same.
It's the same message. It's the same feel, flow, energy, all of that stuff. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you've got a really good top tip, which I'm going to come back to you for in a second. But just to give you a roundup, so some of you might have seen me post, I think it was the start of this year now, where I was booking in my next batch of guests. And for me, it's really important that I have a split between male and female guests. And I was sort of bloke heavy at that point. So I was like, right, let's get some women on. And I thought, actually, let's get some female recruitment business owners on, because we are the minority, but let's showcase more of these women that have been massively successful, have got loads of knowledge to give, loads of value, and loads of amazing experiences we can all learn from. And I know for some, young women now in our industry, it's great to have role models that you can look up to as well. So we're starting off not next week. Oh God, I should have written this down. 11th, I told you I'd make a mistake at least once on the show. 11th of June, I've got Kath Reynolds coming on with me. She is the director and owner of Balance Recruitment. I love Kath. I'm not even sure how I maybe met her. It was either the Women in Recruitment Leadership group, or we just started chatting on LinkedIn. I'm not sure. But why I'm excited to have her on is Kath has been running her business for 17 years very successfully, but she's never been a consultant. So she is an FD. She's got a financial background, and she's coming on to talk about how you can run a successful recruitment business sort of in the background. So you can be that, FD, you can come from a different background, not have done recruitment, but by hiring the right people to go and do the frontline stuff, you can successfully run it from a different angle, which I think is very interesting. And I don't actually know many recruitment business owners. Well, first of all, she's female. She's not got recruitment experience, and she's not from the UK. So she's done really well to sort of come over here and make a massive impact. So I've obviously sung Kath's praises. Definitely come along and watch. It's going to be a really interesting show. The event will go up next week. Okay, let's come back to you for your top tip. So marketing can deliver return on investment. Talk to me more about this.
Okay. I'm sure there may be some recruitment agency owners that are thinking, yeah, right. How? And ultimately it goes down to making sure your marketing being strategic and understanding the business goals. They don't need to be separate. They need to work in tandem. They need to work together to help you achieve those goals. But the last thing you want to do is, even if we just look at the LinkedIn example, I know I've picked on it a bit, but if we just focused on this brand awareness piece, posting on LinkedIn, do you know how well your posts do? Do you know if any of those have led to any conversions on your website? Are you including call to actions? Why just send them out there? Yes, it's doing a brand awareness piece. And yes, people might be, recognizing your brand every once in a while, but you're missing an opportunity there to get them back to your website, or to contact a team member, or whatever it may be. Book a meeting. So making sure that every action that you're doing, that it involves in that marketing plan, that it's strategic, it's aligned with those business goals, that you're tracking metrics, because whatever you are doing, we can track it. We can make sure that we're at least seeing some type of metric that's showcasing how well it's doing. But then You want to see that ROI. You want to see a client come through. You want to see that a marketing automation sequence that you've done that eventually, as we've brought them down this funnel, that you've converted a client that has, paid for it and then some. That's the idea, right? Is you want to see that is coming. All this effort that you're doing is coming back now. It's filling back in the market.
That is so important. You know what? And I've learned this with my business myself very recently. Sort of realized last year, I think it was off the back of, I did a podcast with Clark Wilcox, and he's sort of like a LinkedIn coach. Like, he's got his own recruitment business. And he was saying about how, like, you shouldn't be afraid to sell on LinkedIn. And I was like, hold on, I'm doing all these posts, which are great for people, that give loads of value. But I had no strategy around it, really. Like, there wasn't enough, when I say sales posts, but like calls to action, encouraging people to maybe, talking about the programs to do enough.
Yeah.
And, so I was doing, like you said, I was thinking I was doing my marketing and branding, so I was posting every day on LinkedIn, but I wasn't really thinking about strategy behind that enough. And as soon as I changed that from like January, I mean, I've had a couple of posts this year that I've put out and I've got direct sales from.
There you go.
It does bring, it does bring a return on investment. If you imagine if you get all your consultants, as you've been saying, getting everybody singing from the same hymn sheet, and all your consultants are bringing in this funnel, leads that can be converted, as well as the BD outreach they're doing.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's going to pay for itself, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And then they feel more empowered because they know what they need to, what value that they're offering. And then, all of a sudden they have this grander view of marketing can actually help me. It is a support in this cog that we're all working on to try to, win business and to make partnerships, but that it actually feels like it's strategic and it's going to deliver ROI.
Yeah. Oh, I love this chat. I always love talking to you, but it's been, I always learn from the guests anyway, so I'm getting free training myself. But for everyone watching, I would encourage you to connect with Emily if you haven't already. She's tagged on this event as a guest. I even posted today about the show, so she's tagged in that as well. But if you've listened to this and you think, right, this sounds great, but I need some support with this, or I want to chat to somebody in more detail, drop into Emily's DMs. That'd be the best way, wouldn't it? Is to get on LinkedIn. Yeah, drop her a message, book a chat. So yeah, definitely get on and do that. And if you're watching and you've got any questions you'd rather type out, just comment and one of us will come back to you, or I'll tag Emily to come back to you. But yeah, we're done. So thank you so much for coming on. You will come back on at some point. We'll book it for like probably next year.
Yeah, I didn't totally mess it up, so I can come back now.
I did, you didn't, and I shouldn't, because I do this every bloody fortnight. I've been doing it for 2 years, but there we go. But yeah, thank you so much, everybody who's come on and watched today, or if you're watching it back and you're streaming it. I'll be back on the 11th of June with Kath. Don't forget to join us. See you all soon. Bye.
Bye.